Hey, it's your main man Ender. We're coming back. I'm going to be doing a review on Mutants and Masterminds, second edition, the role-playing game. I'm going to be reviewing this book. Now, I have run this game, and I have played this game, so I have both sides and understand this game pretty well, I think. And as the video starts, let me give a special thanks to Azaric83. Check his channel out. He gave me some tips on this when I was first starting to run it. He knows the system pretty well. So, let me talk about this game. And if you're interested in the game I ran, I did a bunch of videos on the sessions. You can check those out in my older videos. The game, overall, I have to say I'm not a huge fan of this game. They did a great job of presenting essentially all the powers you can imagine to combine in various different ways to create a hero. They do a great job in allowing you as a player to create essentially whatever you want. One of the big problems with the game, however, is characters come out to be way too powerful, because if you connect this with that and this with that and this with that, and it's great. It's a very much a Lego style game, and I do like that about the game, because you can assemble, create the character you want. It's a D20 game, and it's a simplified D20 game. You don't have attacks of opportunity. You don't have flanking. You don't have a lot of these reach. I think they do have reach, but it doesn't really mean anything, because you don't have attacks of opportunity. So things like tripping and reach, all those things change tremendously. The game allows you to create whatever you want within the amount of points you have. However, characters can come up to be very powerful, particularly if you add in some of the other books that have crunch in the system to the game. There's some really powerful things, particularly the ability that for an extra time suit, usually no saving throws, you can do some really heinous stuff and have some incredibly broken characters, even at very low power levels. The game presupposes a power level of 10, which in my estimation do not start your players there. I started mine at 7 and thought they were way too powerful. 7 also gives you the ability to actually give them experience points. At power level 10, if you start giving them experience points at that point, they're going to get to be absurdly powerful. Power level 10 character, if it's tricked out at all, is very, very powerful. They sort of analog them in a lot of one-line things. Oh, well, Spider-Man's a power level 10, and this is you make a character way more powerful than Spider-Man. Spider-Man has a bunch of abilities that don't interlock very well. If you interlock and integrate your abilities well in this game, you can really make some sick, twisted, broken stuff. One of the other problems with the game, and I'm going to show you the character sheet here. Here's the character sheet, and way down here, you can see the words hero points. Hero points are a huge problem. If I ever run this game again, I will not use them. I will not allow them. The feats allow you to take extra hero points, and hero points allow you to do all sorts of broken stuff. When the Game Master uses anything they call Game Master Fiat, you have to essentially give the players more of them. They always start with at least one. If the players are smart, they're going to realize hero points are the jam, and they're going to buy all the hero point feats. They're going to be grotesquely overpowered. You can add additional powers you don't have. You can do all sorts of stuff with hero points as long as it makes any degree of sense. You can sort of back it up. The game essentially allows you to just acquire new powers and all sorts of things. The game gives the players a lot of control, a lot of powers. The Game Master, if you like that, if you're comfortable with that, it's okay, but it can make you wanting to tell a story in a certain arc, a certain way, a certain tone, a certain mood. The players can really easily derail it. Fortunately for me, I don't have a group that intentionally tries to derail things or problems like that, but seeing certain players that play in ways that I wouldn't want to play with them regardless. But if you have that style of player in your game, you could have your game completely destroyed very easily by a player. Be very careful the choices you allow people to make. Do not give them carte blanche to make anything. Make sure that they make characters that are acceptable to you. There's a feat in this game that you really carefully have to allow how much and what, and how much you allow them to take. It's called alt power. It's a power feat. You base it off your powers. Basically, say you were you make Iceman from the X-Men, and he has the power to shoot ice out at you. And you're like, yeah, I like Iceman, but for 1 point, you can take an alt power feat. It's a feat off of your power, and the power feat allows you to just take any other power, and you can just swap them out. You can't have them both simultaneously. It's not good to have offensive and defensive powers linked. However, if you have a power that is not necessary at one moment, like astral projection, something like that, it really makes sense to spend 1 point on that high-end power and acquire something else like invisibility or what have you. And you can take as many powers, say if you have a power that's worth 30 points, you can take an alt power with 1 point and get 30 points of powers. You can have them locked and linked, and it doesn't have to just be one power for that. And you can keep doing it and have what they call an array, a set. So you have your power 1, just to make it simple, and it can get really complicated, but I'm going to try to make it simple. You have your power 1 at 30 points, power 2 at 30 points, power 3 at 30 points, power 4 at 30 points, power 5 at 30 points, and you can have feats added in there and all sorts of stuff. So you have those 5 powers. It only costs you four extra points. Actually, pull 4 fingers up, and not 3. 4 points to do that. To have all those extra powers, and like I said, if you have powers that are really usable in one situation, and then powers that are really usable in another situation, linked up like that, it can be, your character power level just skyrockets. Very simply, you can have different kinds of attacks. Like, I hit you with ice. Oh, that didn't work. I'm going to hit you with fire. I'm going to hit you with sonic or whatever. But you can take it and, do a lot of other things. Like, I'm going to control these plants, and now I'm going to dominate his mind. Now I'm going to put this guy over here to sleep. Now I'm going to trip you. Now I'm going to fly away. Yeah, I can't fly all the time, but I was only going to use it to retreat anyway, so why have it as a normal standalone power? And with my flight, I can fly and go through dimensions because I have it at 40 points here, and I added a bunch of other stuff into it. I can go anywhere in the universe, about like that. I fly 20 times faster than a Green Lantern. It can really get kind of ridiculous what you can do on the high end of these powers. And like I said, a power level 7 character can get some pretty obscene stuff. So a power level 10, even more so. I would definitely caution in any of the additional parts of this line. Green Ronin has a tendency, from what I have seen, and I've seen quite a few of their products, read quite a few of them, to have a few broken pieces in there. The power point cost from everything in here is not that well balanced. There are some things that aren't that great of powers. For example, like the mind control ability right out of this book kind of sucks. It doesn't equal out to the just straight up ass whooping ability. However, if you take the other book that gives you the ability to not have to have anyone make saving throws, they just automatically fail, mind control is amazing. You do what I say, you do what I say, you do what I say, you do what I say. And it can get really, power like that could get really, really out of hand. There are a lot of ways that you can really take this with, because you have feats, and it's all based on a point buy system. Say you get like 100 points, for example, and each power level has a certain number of point range, and when you exceed that, you enter the next power level. Now the power level cap your characters, so you can only do so much damage. You can only hit for so much, and there's a little like leverage. You can trade certain things on and off, so maybe your hit goes down, but your damage goes up. That makes sense. The Hulk doesn't hit everybody every time, but damn if he does. Or the same thing for the Thing, or a lot of other characters. Superman even could be put in that category. Whereas Batman would be the other way around and do a lot of damage, but Batman will hit you over and over and over again. Every single time Batman swings, he will hit you, because his BAB is way higher than his damage, So it makes sense on the standpoint of doing that. Essentially, every character just gets to hit you one time in a round. However, there are a few ways around that. There are ways you can essentially mass affect everything that completely break that. You could, I was looking at it, put different things together. I said, well, I do this, this, and this. I could kill a whole city of people. Like, well, keep dropping my some of the feats there where you can affect larger groups of people. You put other things on there like no saving throw, drain. You can run up the time of things from like a round to like 10,000 years, and keep upping your ability. It's like, okay, something like drain. Like, okay, I'm going to drain 10 points of Constitution off you now. Oh, you can't save against it. And I'm going to do it to everyone that's around me. I'm immune to it. 10 points of con, 10 points of con, 10 points of con. How many points of con do you have? Yeah, I just did like 4 rounds. I've just drained 40 points of con. So anyone conceivably is going to be dead. You can really do some wonky things in this. I again, would definitely caution, make sure you have a mature group that's not going to min-max, not going to go crazy, that's not going to be ridiculous, or you will really be ruining this game, as your players can essentially take a lot of what the Game Master's power is away from them and control and manipulate the story in ways that can really mess the fun up for everybody and kind of kill the Game Master's energy. This is one of those games you have to be very, very careful with. The other part is the characters aren't going to advance a lot. You're not playing a first level fighter. You're playing a real legitimate badass. Even I know at level 7 you are, probably at level 6, maybe even level 5, you would still be in that range. And the game is essentially designed to start at level 10. I don't even know what a level 10 character looks like, but I did see level 8 characters, and they are very, very ferocious, very, very powerful, and there's a lot of bookkeeping. They did simplify things by taking out some of the D20 aspects. Now, the game itself only runs on one D20. That's all you need to bring is one D20 to the game. Of course, you probably want to bring a few. That one D20 is rolling crappy. Might not be that great. You make saves against damage, and the damage system is kind of interesting. If you have a weapon like a longsword, it just does like 4 points of damage instead of a D8, which is also kind of interesting. The really great thing about this, the draw that brings a lot of people to it, is it has ultimate customization. This game's customization is as good as any I have seen, because you can essentially make anything. And they have versions of the game, where you can sort of port this into other venues like Warlocks and Wizards, so you can play essentially D&D or Conan style game, whatever you want to play with it in that fashion. And I think they have games to do that with other genres as well. I haven't very carefully looked at that. The game also supports an entire, I think, meta plot with a lot of the books. I don't have them. I haven't read them. I wasn't interested in a meta plot. I always make my own plots and my own worlds. But they do support that if you're looking for pre-generated characters, for a pre-generated world, for pre-generated campaigns, and I think they have modules as well. The artwork in this book is very very nice. It's not the best that I've seen in a role-playing game book, but it's definitely on the higher end, particularly for it's Green Ronin. It's not put out by Wizards of the Coast or White Wolf or one of the larger publishers. Not to say Green Ronin isn't up and coming, and not that they don't have a decent fan base or something like that, but let me try to find one. Here you can see this kind of looks like a Red Hulk here. There's this one of the villains, and they do have some nice villains in the back here. And again, you got this guy kind of looks like a cross between Cobra Commander and Doctor Doom. The armored megalomaniac, and I think they actually spelled the word megalomaniac in there wrong a couple times, so I had to go back through and look. There were a few typos I found in the book, but overall it was pretty good. Not like one of the older White Wolf books that were just chock full of them. So that's a kind of a cool drawing, and it does have some evocative drawings of the comic book style in here. And it also has sort of ready-made templates at power level 10, which for different power levels you can adjust down. And they try to make it, obviously for trademark reasons they can't, do things, but they have the costumed Avenger here. Guess who? Wonder what hero that is? Could it be Batman? And the martial arts guy. They have Superman here. He's just a black dude, but look at the costume. That's very much Superman. Very Doctor Strange looking. However, they just made it a chick, so a little different. Really looks like Quicksilver there, the speedster. They have all the archetypes. You can really kind of quickly put that down. And they have a nice easy chart here for you to look at in terms of the power levels that you can put together, the starting points. It's all laid out. The game is a little tricky to get the hang of to make a character. But all in all, great deal of customization. The characters, in my estimation, are overly powerful. The power combinations you can put together can be very tough. The two problem areas that I saw were hero points, and I would completely knock that part of the game out. I would exit out and not allow players to have hero points. They can be massively problematic, and they are more problematic than they look from first inspection. I've seen that because I ran the game. And also, alt power feat. Be careful of that. The characters can take feats, much like in D&D. Feats are actually 1.2. So feats seem to be a really good point to take. You could buy skills. They're 4 for a point, which I thought was another really great bargain area. And you just sort of build up the characters. Another thing, you're going to have a lot of redundancy, I think, in characters top leveling there to hit and damage, or however they flip that around. I think that that can be a little repetitive and cause you have to make pretty beastly opponents for them that they won't just run through. The game also, the way combat's done, I mean, you can one-shot somebody immediately. I had bad guys in mind I thought were really tough, one-shotted by one player in one hit, and I did the same thing to the PCs. I would one-shot them, one hit, bam, right through the pavement. You're unconscious. So, be mindful of that it's not a game that's particularly easy, particularly if you have villains and heroes that are using lethal tactics. That's my review of Mutants Masterminds 2nd Edition. If you have any questions, please feel free to comment below, and I will attempt to give you my opinions and ideas on those. Also, if you have particular favorite superhero setting, I would like to hear what it is, because at this point I'm kind of looking for a different one. Thanks for watching.